Soilcast. Boden, Umwelt, Klima.
Did you know that soils can be pitch black? The kind I'm talking about is a very special type, organic soils. These soils are black because they're made mostly of organic matter, contrary to the soils we usually talk about in this podcast, which are called mineral soils. These are mostly made up of weathered rocks and minerals, which give them their typically brown color and a soil organic carbon content of around 1 to 3%. Organic soils, on the other hand, have a much higher carbon content, more than 12%, and must be at least 40 centimeters thick according to the World Reference Base of Soil Resources. So where can we find these amazing soils? They're found in peatlands, which are wetlands in their natural state. You may have heard of peat, a material once widely used as fuel. It's harvested from these areas. Though peatlands cover only 3% of the Earth's surface, they store almost twice as much carbon as all the world's forests combined. That's an incredible amount. But how does the carbon get there? Let's find out together. To understand why peatlands store so much carbon, we need to understand how organic soils form. Like in forests, the carbon stored in peatlands comes from photosynthesis. Plants absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and store carbon in their plant tissue. When a plant dies, it falls to the ground, and under normal conditions, microorganisms decompose it, eventually returning the carbon back to the atmosphere. But microorganisms need one critical thing to break down plants, and that is oxygen. In a natural peatland, water sits close to the surface, so oxygen can't reach the dead plant matter underwater. That makes decomposition very slow. This is why you can still see intact plant tissues in peat, even centuries later after the plant died. Each year, plants grow and die, but below the water level, they're not fully decomposed. Over time, this leads to the buildup of dead plant material and to the formation of organic soils. This accumulation is even faster under conditions of low pH, low temperatures, high salt or high organic toxin concentrations. In Central Europe, organic soils grow on average about 1 millimeter per year. That means forming just 1 meter of organic soil takes 1,000 years. So where can we find organic soils in the world? Anywhere where the rate of accumulation exceeds the rate of decomposition. This tends to happen in cooler climates with short summers and cold temperatures, which slow down the decomposition process. You'll find many organic soils in Canada, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and northern Russia. But they're also found in places with more rainfall than evaporation, like tropical forests. In Indonesia, high precipitation leads to constantly water-saturated conditions and the widespread formation of organic soils. Usually, organic soils form in low-lying areas where water naturally gathers, such as valleys or hollows. These areas are called bogs. Organic soils in these spots tend to be nutrient-rich because groundwater can carry nutrients. But you can also get raised bogs, which form where more rain falls than can evaporate. These don't rely on groundwater and instead are fed only by rain, meaning their organic soils are nutrient-poor and acidic. Such raised bogs are called ombrotrophic, meaning rain-fed. Plants in this nutrient-poor environment have evolved in amazing ways. For example, the sundew, a carnivorous plant that traps and digests insects to survive, has managed to find a way to get its own nutrients. Peat has been used as a resource for thousands of years. But since it takes 1,000 years to form just 1 meter, it's mostly not sustainable. We harvest it faster than it can naturally replenish. Peat is used as fuel because of its high carbon content once it's dried. It's also prized in gardening substrates for its excellent water and nutrient retention. So if you're a gardener, try to use peat-free products to help preserve these unique ecosystems and cut your carbon footprint. Historically, many peatlands were drained to make room for agriculture. In Germany alone, 90% of peatlands are now drained, and across the European Union, that figure is around 50%. This drainage causes serious consequences for greenhouse gas emissions. The dead plant material in organic soil was previously protected by the high water table. Once drained, oxygen floods in and allows microorganisms to rapidly decompose the organic soil, releasing large amounts of carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide, both powerful greenhouse gases. Just 1 hectare of drained peatland can emit as much CO2 in a year as driving a combustion engine car 4.5 times around the planet. In fact, greenhouse gas emissions from drained peatlands make up about 5% of total European Union greenhouse gas emissions. And that's not all. Many organic soils have an organic carbon content higher than 30%. As this carbon decomposes, it leads to a significant loss in soil volume. In Central Europe, drained organic soils lose about 1 to 2 centimeters in height each year. Some areas have seen soil subsidence of 2 meters over the last century. In the Netherlands, you might notice stairs that suddenly don't reach the ground or drainage pipes sticking out of the soil, because the soil simply vanished as the carbon escaped into the air. Farming drained peatland simply isn't sustainable. It causes dramatic soil loss. This sounds like a huge challenge. So how do we tackle it? The only truly effective way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and soil subsidence is to raise the water table again. Basically, stop draining organic soils. This cuts off oxygen and decomposition slows quickly. We can even restore peatlands close to their original state, allowing them to start absorbing carbon again and become carbon sinks instead of carbon sources. Agriculture could also continue, but under wet conditions. That's called paludiculture, the productive use of rewetted peatlands. It preserves the organic soil while minimizing CO2 emissions and halting soil subsidence. So, what does paludiculture look like? Paludiculture crops can be used for energy, insulation, gardening substrate, or animal fodder. Common reed, for example, works well for both building material and energy source. You could grow peat moss for gardening substrate, or if you want to produce food, you can raise water buffaloes or even grow rice, which thrives under flooded conditions. However, paludiculture should only take place on previously drained or managed organic soils. Pristine wetlands should never be converted to agricultural land. There are simply too few of these precious ecosystems left. Next time you visit an intact peatland for a Sunday walk, take a moment to appreciate their impressive carbon storage. By growing their peat 1 millimeter per year, they help us mitigating climate change. If you would like to know more, check out the Peat Atlas published in 2023 by the Heinrich Böll Foundation. Many of the facts in this episode come from the UNEP's Global Peatland Report. You'll find both linked below in the description.
Der Soilcast ist für euch kostenlos und das soll auch so bleiben. Ihr könnt uns dabei helfen. Derzeit unterstützen uns etwa 1% unserer Zuhörerinnen und Zuhörer, zum Beispiel durch eine kleine Überweisung auf das Geschäftskonto oder via PayPal. Wie das genau funktioniert, seht ihr auf soilcast.de unter dem Punkt Unterstützen. Das Geld wird für die digitale Infrastruktur verwendet und darüber hinaus in Technik investiert. Vielen Dank für eure Unterstützung.